Hi, I'm Dave, and this is my wife, Cathy.
Hello!
And this is The Cinemile. It's a podcast where we walk home from the movies. And we're off to see a movie. It's called Astra. It's a feature-length commercial for a car company, I believe.
Awesome. Great. Can't wait.
There's my dad jokes out of the way.
Yeah, that's just not even... I'm not even pretending to laugh at that.
Come on, give me something.
What it is...
Give me a chuckle.
Well, all I know is it's a sci-fi movie starring Brad Pitt, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, and that's where I stopped, as in, like... I'm hoping this is this year's Arrival or something like that, because I want to go in knowing nothing about this and have a completely surprising experience and come out the other end loving it.
Okay.
That's what I want, and I think
so high expectations.
Yeah, I do have high expectations, but I think for me, sci-fi is best experience knowing nothing about the premise or the plot or anything, because you get that. Whatever the concept is, you get surprised by it in the moment.
What we do know is that they've got a lot of money to spend on this movie because Brad Pitt's in it.
Yeah, well, Astra turn over billions every year, so, you know, presumably they're just chucking everything they've got at their feature-length commercial.
And it's quite interesting because I can't remember before this month having seen Brad Pitt in a movie like for years. And now suddenly we watched him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And now he's in Ad Astra.
Yeah.
So what's the story? Is it like he's back on track with his life? Is it a pitissance?
I think a pitissance. I'm sorry, that's not happening. Did you read that somewhere? Or did you try to coin it?
I didn't really try and coin it because there's already been a reconnaissance.
No, I'm putting a stop right now to anyone putting the word assance at the end of other words.
Reconnaissance sounds good. A pitissance sounds horrible.
Yeah,
pitissance sounds like something you would fall into and never get out of again and just die.
Exactly.
So no, I'm not into that. But I'm into Brad Pitt, so hopefully we enjoy this more than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
My other issue is like people putting the word gate at the end of things that were mildly controversial. Like I'm looking around like Pitgate, yeah, and the pitissance.
Yeah, so right, we better go.
All right, needless to say, I'm quite excited. I'm hoping this lives up to the bizarre expectations I've set upon it. But either way,
we always have high expectations when it's a genre we both like, i.e. sci-fi, and when we know an actor in it that we really like, i.e. Brad Pitt. So why wouldn't we have high expectations?
Yeah.
They're well deserved.
I'm hoping this is finally the movie that was described by Aaron Eckhart in Thank You for Smoking, in which Brad Pitt comes out of zero gravity and spins around and then lights up some Marlboro and looks cool.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm into it.
I'll watch that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
It's crazy out there. There's fires everywhere and plane crashes. They're calling it the surge.
Major, we have some highly classified information.
What can you tell us about the Lima project?
Its objective was to search for advanced extraterrestrial life. The ship disappeared approximately 16 years into the mission.
And the commander was?
He was my father, sir.
This might come as quite a shock to you. Your father was experimenting with a highly classified material that could threaten our entire solar system. All life would be destroyed. We're counting on you to find out what's happening out there.
Hi, we're out. We saw Ad Astra. It's really late, and that movie has made me so tired.
It made me tired too.
That's a tiring movie. That movie just drained me of the energy I had after a hard day's work, and now I'm just exhausted. It's not to mean that the movie... I thought the movie was really good, but it was draining. And it wasn't... It's a low energy movie.
Yeah.
I think you have to be in a really good, the right frame of mind to watch this movie. I think I'd rather have watched it on a lazy Sunday afternoon or something.
I mean, 8 o'clock on a Thursday after work is quite late.
Yeah.
But no, I liked it too. I agree it's low energy.
It's low G, low energy.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it.
Shall we say should we say what it's about? Just general plot synopsis?
I think a lot of... Look, it is Brad Pitt going to space, but I think beyond
there you go, that'll do.
We don't need to say much.
Yeah.
We'll pretty much get to spoil it straight away on this one because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone.
Actually, I think Brad Pitt goes to space was the tagline for this movie.
I think so, yeah. But we'll get to... we'll get to spoiler street in a minute. Like, let's
Cathy
just
stopped talking
Sorry,
because
there's
she
a
was
dog.
walking around a dog.
Walking around a dog.
He's not happy
We'll get
about
to
it.
spoiler street in a second because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, because I do think it's good to go in not knowing it, because it is a really interesting story. Quite bonkers story, actually. So I thought the story was really good. I thought visually it was gorgeous. So I really enjoyed the visuals. I thought some of the dialogue was a little bit hokey. We'll get to that in spoiler street. In particular, the use of
The
voiceover.
narration?
Yeah, the use of the
Yeah.
voiceover didn't really do it for me. But there was really cool things explored, like really cool sci-fi stuff.
Yes.
Like things that were happening in space that were really cool, and I'll hold them off till spoiler street.
Yeah, I really want to dig into
Yeah, so there was some really fun, like really good ideas, like all good sci-fi, brimming with ideas. I thought Brad Pitt was really good. It was a great supporting cast, including a criminally underused Liv Tyler. Don't actually know why she was in this movie, if
I
I'm
think
being
she had-
perfectly honest.
She had more to do in the Aerosmith video she was
She
in
did.
than she did in this movie.
Honestly, so that was a bit odd, but like Tommy Lee Jones was brilliant and Donald Sutherland was brilliant. So yeah, great cast, looked beautiful, great story.
It's a very
loved the setting.
It's a very subdued performance
For me, though,
by
the
Brad Pitt,
very
and by
subdued.
by everyone.
Which I enjoyed. I really enjoyed his performance. But for me, the use of the voiceover stopped it from being a brilliant movie, because when voiceover isn't done right, for me, it feels very heavy-handed, and
Yeah.
it takes me out of the plot a bit. And that's what the voiceover in this did for me.
And it's very hard to have a first-person narrator voiceover in a movie without it leaning into the ham.
Yeah.
And this slipped into ham a couple of times. I even wrote the word ham on the page I had in front of me a few times.
Just because the movie was so cool that to do the voiceover didn't work, whereas in a less cool movie, voiceovers can really work for me, but
However,
it took
look,
the edge off this one.
I think to the movie's credit, I was trying to think of a way that they could have expressed what the movie was trying to express without voiceover, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but it'd be bloody difficult.
No,
So,
I know I have a device by which they could have done it, which
okay.
I'm saving for spoiler street. Will we just
all
go to
right.
spoiler
Well,
street?
yeah, I would say I think it's agreed. I recommend it. It's a really interesting movie. You need to be in the right frame of mind for this. Interestingly,
Maybe
I
have a
thought,
coffee first.
yeah, you need to. But on the other hand, it's a very lean. No, I think it's a lean back and let it wash over you kind of movie, and but at the same time, it fires your brain cells. Like I was like, it was making me reflective about my own life and my relationship with humanity, which I think the best texts do. So, like the material
Texts?
is weighty. Yeah, it's a text.
Well, it's a movie.
Fine. It's art, Cathy. It's cinema. It's cinema. Whatever you want to call it. 'Tis a movie. Sure, the movie made me think, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, great.
All right.
Say that then.
Anyway. But yeah, no, I don't think it's necessarily. I think you don't necessarily need energy. You just need to not be on the verge of sleeping.
Yeah, so you have a coffee.
Which is my. Okay, fine. Yeah,
Okay,
have a coffee.
so we're on spoiler
Fuck's sake.
street.
All right, before we get to spoiler street, just want to do a quick shout out for some of the lovely people who have donated to our podcast via our Patreon, patreon.com/the cinema. Lovely people like Claire Gardner and Ben Kirkpatrick, Rory O'Neill, Kinza Druitt, who has an awesome name, Chris Thompson, Jeff Kaplan, and Sam Berrington. Thank you, all of you.
Thank
for
you so much.
helping support the podcast. And if you want to do that, if you want to help out, if you like what we do here, you can head to our Patreon page, donate. If you donate $1 to $3, you get access to loads of bonus content. We have a bonus podcast feed there where we do TV reviews, movie reviews. We're about to watch Heat this weekend. Loads of stuff there. Go check it out. And anyway, on
Cinemile High Club.
the Cinemile High Club,
Yeah,
it's called. Yeah.
that's what it's called. So right, on to Ad Astra spoilers. So in terms of the story, and it's kind of this quintessential like age-old plot of like a man trying to seek out his father, right, or right the wrongs of his father, that sort of thing. But what I really enjoyed on the way was like the casual stuff we learn about this world that he inhabits. We don't know what year it is. I think it's obviously set in the future, and
It's the near future.
The near
according to
future.
the title credits.
oh, I missed that. So basically, it's like there's interesting stuff going on. So like travel to space has been commercialized, which we've seen in lots of movies. But it was quite interesting the way, like, you get to Mars or the moon or wherever they went, and it was like.
They went to the moon and Mars.
But when it was like the passengers going, I think it was the moon, and they were like effectively just in like a shopping mall with like escalators and like kids and stuff. And that was where the voiceover killed it for me, because Brad Pitt was like, my space travel has been commercialized. It's like, yeah, we can see that. Like
Yeah.
just the voiceover was ruining cool scenes like that.
There was a great line he had in that exact moment, though, which was he described human beings as world eaters, which I thought was really interesting. As in, we just commercialized and destroyed Mars like we would anywhere else.
But that
I
could
really
have been
enjoyed,
a line served by someone in
Yeah, I
it.
know,
It didn't need to be overlaid over it.
I like that the first thing you see when you land in Mars is an Applebee's.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever. And then there was like
No,
this
the
really
moon, sorry.
interesting element of like there being like kind of turf wars in space and like mercenaries fighting each other, and it's like a war zone. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I felt like anytime this movie tried to do an action scene, it felt a bit shoehorned in. Do you know what I mean? It felt almost out of place with this really slow, cerebral, thoughtful movie. And then it was like, oh, you're trying to do an action scene now? And none of the action scenes I thought were particularly exciting. There was some interesting visual stuff. I thought the whole idea of doing a low speed car chase on the moon, I don't think I've seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool, but like I wasn't ever invested, because you've got every character is
In a helmet?
deliberately in a helmet, but also emotionally stunted, because they're taking pills to inhibit their emotions. They have to keep their heart rate to a certain below a certain rate. They get constant psych evaluations, and they've basically deliberately eroded and shielded their humanity and personalities and emotions for the greater good of, in this instance, seeking out life on Earth, or life outside of Earth, which is the one single goal of humanity.
I don't think so. I think a lot of the stuff was just like turf wars in space. I don't think like the baddies who attacked their car in space are out looking for like signs of life.
It's fine, but
Yeah.
sorry, I've veered off your
Yeah.
moon chase. I'm just talking about that's what the topic of the movie is.
Well, yeah. But anyway,
Sorry, go on.
I enjoyed that.
Carry on about your turf war
No,
moon
I'm just
space.
saying I thought that was cool. Like, but again, like, they didn't really spend enough time in it, and like that bit was then just over, and I was like, wait, I found that stuff really interesting. I also like the way the movie effectively opens on an action scene when he's not quite in space, but he's like just above the Earth in some sort of docking station, and suddenly
was
there's
cool.
all explosions happening, and I was like, oh right, I'm right into the action. So at that point I thought it was going to be like a really high energy movie. And then there was like evil monkeys in space, which like in any other movie would be the horror movie in itself, and I was really freaked out by that. And then that maybe took 3 minutes of a horrible scene, and then everyone's just back on board again.
That's what I mean. The action beats of this movie feel like out of place. They feel like they're from another movie. But they were also. That's not to say they weren't interesting.
Like, but why was
like-
there a monkey in space? No one ever told us.
It's all.
It was like an alien or something.
It's basically. I was thinking about why did they bother with any of that, and I think the reason is so that Brad Pitt can then have that psych eval where he soliloquizes about rage. He says, the last time I saw that rage, and they deliberately chose monkeys because they're primal versions of us, and those monkeys were pure rage, and that was the only time we saw Brad Pitt be honest.
But that is exactly where I thought if the movie hadn't had a voiceover up until this point, this scene would be amazing, where we up until this point will have had effectively a silent character in Brad Pitt. He's only ever kind of polite, nodding to everyone. And if they'd waited until that moment, instead of doing a voiceover the whole time, if they just waited till that psych evaluation where he was finally honest, that would have been an amazing moment.
Actually, you're
but
right.
For me, because he'd already been harping on for half the movie, I was barely listening to him because I'd heard his voice too much.
Do you know what? You're so right, because
I know.
it's also they had already visually communicated very effectively that Brad Pitt was emotionally walled off from Liv Tyler within a few minutes of the film.
Yeah,
you know,
we didn't learn anything about him after the first 10 minutes of the movie.
No, but they actually they perfectly did it with that bookended first and last psych eval he does, which are mirrors of each other, which I thought was a nice way to start and end the movie. And
like
it's all about being
the psych evals were
committed.
amazing. Like they were enough for us. We did not need the voiceover.
You're right. That's the narration, and then that's serving the same purpose.
And because when you've got that much cool visual stuff going on, like just let it breathe. I almost feel like what it was oh God, what's the famous example of another sci-fi movie? Blade Runner, where they like added a voiceover later. It feels like that. Like, I wonder if the voiceover wasn't there, and then they thought, "Oh, the audience isn't going to get this." I don't know.
Oh, you think it didn't test well in screenings?
Well, I don't know.
You think the audience cards came back from the screenings, and it was like, "What's Brad Pitt thinking? I don't understand this movie."
I don't know, because it just felt odd. Like, and then I have only 2 more points, and then I'll let you make yours.
Okay.
Sorry, in the near distant future, what age are you allowed to work as an astronaut?
Oh, you think he's too old to be an astronaut?
No, he's not. Tommy Lee Jones,
Yeah,
Donald Sutherland.
No,
I'm sorry.
Hang on.
They're like 90.
Yeah, but Tommy Lee Jones had been up there from 27 years ago.
So he'd gone up when he was 60.
Okay, come on. Have you not seen the film Space Cowboys? Clearly, this film is set in the same universe as Space Cowboys, and it's just moved on a few years, in which Clint Eastwood and, I believe, Tommy Lee Jones go into space. Because they're all old retired astronauts, and Morgan Freeman maybe, and Michael Caine.
I haven't seen that.
Or
movie.
maybe I'm mixing it up with another.
I think you're thinking of the one where they all go to Las Vegas.
They go to Vegas.
Hang on,
maybe it's that movie.
You're thinking of Bad Granddads.
It's not called Bad Granddads.
Oh,
that's the one with Robert De Niro and Zac Efron.
Sorry.
We are way off course
anyway,
here.
And then Donald Sutherland.
Our vertical alignment is off.
Donald
like that
Sutherland
spacecraft.
was so old.
We're at 6 degrees.
And then he gets ill, and you're like, of course he's ill. He's really old, and he's just gone to the moon.
His heart wasn't up to that. His heart wasn't even up to a low speed moon chase.
Yeah.
There was no way he was going to survive
ridiculous.
a trip to Mars.
And then my final point is, okay, so picture this. We have both of a son, right, together. He's called Oscar. If you hadn't seen Oscar for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And he showed up.
Yeah.
And he was that good looking. Would you, honestly...
Would I high-five him instantly?
What would you think? You would think, my God.
I was like, damn, son.
I never knew my
You got
genes.
Brad Pitt good looks.
I never knew my genes were so good. And like, why didn't I have more children and just like work them to the bone as child models?
I'm just seeing a horrifying insight into the workings of your mind.
I'm joking about the child model thing, but honestly, like at no point did I know Tommy Lee Jones said he'd cataracts, but at no point did he go, what the fuck? Why does my son look like this? Why does my son look like Brad Pitt is like probably in his 50s, right? I don't know what age he is. Like, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
he looks the same as he did in Thelma and Louise. Having just seen J-Lo in Hustlers, who's just, again, 50, and it's like mind-boggling. It's like, these people are not human.
So you think it would have been interesting if Tommy Lee Jones had in that moment said, my only regret was not staying behind and making more child model babies.
What was really sad, actually,
when I realised that the search for alien life was pointless, I realised the only truth is in child model babies.
And dang, you would have made me so much cash. But on a serious note, though, it was really sad when Tommy Lee Jones basically was like, in 30 years I've never thought about you or your mother, and I don't give a fuck about you.
Oh, that was
and this tear comes down Brad Pitt's eyes.
Yeah.
His beautiful blue eyes. Anyway, I'm done.
You're done? Okay, that's the cinema. Thanks for listening.
No, it's your turn.
You're going in now.
Did you have any extra points?
I a few things to say. What do you think the movie was about or trying to say? Because for me, and I was trying to think this because it's such a slow movie, I had a lot of time to think.
I thought it didn't have the depth of a lot of sci-fi movies, to be honest. Like you mentioned Arrival earlier, like it's not a patch on Arrival.
No, I much prefer Arrival, but I think that's because Arrival had like pathos and emotion injected into this. Well, as my point earlier, this movie presents a series of characters who have walled off their emotions, and as such, that's interesting, but it's from an audience point of view, it's very hard to actually connect with Brad Pitt or anybody else because of that. However, for what I thought the movie was about, I thought it had a very religious meaning. As in, like, it was...
You really struggled to get that word out.
I'm really tired. The...
Oh, you're tired. You hadn't mentioned
like,
that. Oh, sorry.
okay.
Are you 5 months pregnant?
What do you want me to do here?
Stop talking about how tired. To stop talking about how tired you are.
All right, fine. I'm not as tired as you. Is that what you want me to say? Anyway,
no, I just want you to stop talking about being tired.
Basically, they were they were all God-fearing astronauts, like, which was, I thought, was there was a lot of interesting language used throughout. Like, almost all the astronauts except Brad Pitt, interestingly, mentioned God. And they even had, when the captain died, he got a religious funeral. When they were blasting off on that spaceship, they said, "St. Christopher, wish us luck." Like, there were very deliberate language used. And for me, that's kind of how I feel like the whole movie is symbolic of religious zealotry and the search for something more than what's on this earth.
Yeah, well, there was a physical search for what's more than on this earth.
No, but the physical search was in the movie, but that's symbolic of our world, which is religion and the search for something more beyond us in the skies. Tom, like, if you think of Spacecom, is essentially a religious organization which was basically warning some of my own attitudes towards religion are going to come across here. But the movie is trying to say that Spacecom it's basically a church in which it's trying to control everyone's emotions and feelings and regulate them. And Tommy Lee Jones is a zealot who abandoned his own family in the search for something more. He even towards the end, he says he went there to defy what science claims does not exist, and he deliberately referenced science. This is a battle between religion and science, and the end of the movie is essentially about coming to terms with the fact that there is no God, and this is how I read it. And Brad Pitt says the line, "We're all we've got," and I thought it was quite lovely, and that's a liberating moment for him.
But I didn't think it. But why? But if everything you've said is true about Tommy Lee Jones's quest and everything, but that was never Brad Pitt's quest, so it's not liberating for Brad Pitt.
But
at
Brad
the end.
Pitt was only ever following in his father's footsteps. Brad Pitt was a lost soul, missing a father, who just followed his path because he wanted him to be proud of him, and he never really became somebody until he literally, in a very clunky symbol, untethered himself from his father.
Yeah, that was a bit ham-fisted.
And pushed him away. But I mean, that's what that represents.
I just thought the whole movie was more about Brad Pitt's journey to realise that he needs human touch and human connections.
Yes, but it's the same thing. Brad Pitt was on the same mission everybody else was on, but didn't believe it. He never once mentions God. He never once really believes in anything. You never see any passion. He's just going through the motions.
But he's interesting. He's such an emotionally muted character, and I was thinking, the way we were saying there's like bursts of action sequences, like quite horrific ones that only last each no more than 3 minutes, and then instantly it's like right back to the mundane and the low energy. And I think it's partially because we're seeing things through Brad Pitt's eyes, and because they even say he's got like this freakishly low heart rate. As soon as he's witnessed this kind of extraordinary event, at least 3 of which we saw, him like falling down a space station and nearly dying, him being attacked by a horrifying alien monkey, and being in like this chase on Mars, and immediately afterwards he's just like back to his low-key self again. So I think it was just about him having these really very strong emotional walls up, and then in the end losing them. I think the higher it doesn't have the higher message of like a brilliant sci-fi for me. Like, it's not particularly interesting to see people trying to find God or something that exists outside of them, and then them not finding it. Like, that's like fine. I've seen that a million times. Like,
no, I don't agree with you. That is saying something. I've experienced that when when you face the possibility that we are alone on this world and on this planet, and we don't have a purpose or a higher purpose, and that's literally staring into the abyss like he was completely in isolation in Neptune, that creates a feeling of complete isolation that is, it's horrifying, and he only came back from that by grabbing the hand of his fellow human towards the end and smiling. And I thought that was lovely, because ultimately we are all in this together, and all we have is each other. So I actually thought that was a really profound message.
I wish though that right at the end, like, it was just him taking someone's hand. Like, I thought the stuff of him and Liv Tyler meeting up was just pathetic. Like,
yeah, I thought it was going to end there.
There was just no need for him and Liv Tyler to meet up. Like, their divorce, that's been and done. Like, he's now realised that he needs to open up emotionally, but like, she's not hanging around waiting for him. Like, it just felt wrong. Like, I thought him touching a stranger's hand should have been the ending. But yeah, what else did you think? Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, look, that's what I thought the movie was trying to say. In terms of, like,
do you think it said it well though? Like, do you think there's a great execution of that?
No, I don't think it was perfect, but I thought it was pretty interesting, and actually it's the kind of movie that I like reading other people's opinions of afterwards. I feel like I'll dig into people's interpretations of this movie for a couple of hours over the weekend. What am I saying? We have a child. I'll do it for 10 minutes on the toilet.
Yeah, I'd be interested to read reviews.
Lastly, other thing I liked about this, I thought the production design, the set designs were all like really, like, particularly Mars had this like funky 70s vibe going on with red lights. I loved the room where he was transmitting the message to his father.
Cool. Oh my god, so it turns out there's hipsters in space.
Oh yeah, the guy with the bun. Yeah. I loved it. That whole thing just reminded me of Toast of London.
Oh my god, I was going to say that. It's exactly like Toast of London.
If anyone hasn't seen Toast of London, just go YouTube Clem Fandango Toast of London, and it's these brilliant voice recording sessions, and that's all I could think of. And somebody's got to please make a supercut of that mixed with.
It was exactly that.
Brad Pitt talking to Clem Fandango.
Oh, and I have one other observation.
Go on.
So weirdly, the last space movie we watched, which mild spoilers for, what was it called again?
It was called The Last Space Movie.
The one with Robert Pattinson.
Oh, High Life.
High Life, which we saw with the lovely science-ish
another cerebral.
Yeah, we should have got the science-ish guys on for this one. But that was also a familial drama set in space, and they're quite different propositions.
Yeah, very different.
The more
movies.
I think about High Life, the more like outrageous that movie is. And it was so funny because remember we talked about with High Life, well, A, like the plot was completely bonkers, but B, how they kind of just didn't, like the set design was like real old school, and like they didn't really care to follow the rules of space.
I thought I liked that was really, quite grungy and dirty.
Yeah, this one to me was like somewhere between High Life and then between like the really super polished space movies. And I was kind of naturally thinking of The Martian, and then I was thinking of Gravity, and then I was suddenly like, wait a minute, the Ocean's 11 crew are just all making space movies now. That's like the thing. And Sandra Bullock from Ocean's 8.
Yeah.
So clearly they're all like
George Clooney there as well, yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, we better go. It's cold.
Ocean's 11. Ocean's 14 in space. Yeah, let's go. No, I've got it. Ocean's 2001.
Well, the last one they did was Ocean's 8, so I think the next one's Ocean's 9, so you need to make that work.
All right. Last thing, the movie that this actually reminded me of the most, weirdly, was Apocalypse Now. Have you seen that?
No.
I've
seen bits of it, but I've never cared to watch it.
It mirrors that plot, like, weirdly. And without spoiling that movie, but it's like...
Without spoiling that movie, he ends up in space.
Can I spoil that movie?
No, don't spoil that movie.
No, but it's basically one...
No, you don't spoil a famous movie that not everyone's
seen. This isn't me spoiling the
seen.
movie. This is me describing the plot of... This is the plot on... I bet it's the plot on IMDb. Like, Martin Sheen is sent by a military institution to find one of their generals who has gone rogue in the heart of Vietnam on a mission. And,
so Saving Private Ryan.
And it's this whole... No, it's not
I'm
Saving
joking,
Private Ryan.
I'm joking.
Jesus.
Right,
but yeah, it's basically that, and it's a descent into and it's a long journey for Martin Sheen and a descent into madness, and then he basically meets crazy Marlon Brando.
Okay, cool.
At the end.
And now we're going to go...
And then Marlon Brando says, I never loved you or your mom.
And now we're going to go...
I wish I had more child model babies.
Thanks everyone for listening. Let us know what you thought of the movie. hope you guys liked it as much as we did. Email us at thecinemail@gmail.com.
Yes, we always email back.
Yes, or
and
head
we got
over
loads of emails after our Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh my god, yeah. Once Upon a
review.
Time in
Thanks,
Hollywood,
guys.
we have never...
We've never had such a divided response. We've
Very
definitely
polarising movie. And also...
And actually, but the big thank you to everybody who wrote in and said, I really don't agree with you guys and and can't get on board with it, but really like listening to you and your opinions, and we'll carry on listening.
Or just respect your opinions.
Which is like, thank you. That's reasoned debate, and we actually had quite a few emails from people outlining in detail why they disagree with us, and I wrote back and we had a good old banter. Whereas the people who just wrote, "You're a pair of dopes, I'll never listen to you again because you're wrong about Quentin Tarantino." I mean, come like, this is the problem with the Twitter and the internet, is like the complete lack of willingness to discuss or debate or listen, and it's all just polarized opinion. Anyway, I'm going off on a rant.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
stop.
totally
Sorry.
going off on a rant. But
thank you to
hilariously,
everyone.
we only released that episode a month ago, and it's like our second most listened to episode of all time. So
Yeah,
people
all right,
are
come
very
on.
interested in
Let's
that
go
movie.
let's go inside
But we're
now.
going to go in. So head over to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook,
at
or
the
Gmail.
Cinemile.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to go over to our Patreon, we will always produce this for free. But it would be nice if you left us a little review on iTunes, because that helps us get found.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
This is Major Roy McBride. I'm attempting to reach Dr. Clifford McBride. This is Dr. McBride's son. Dad, I'd like to see you again.